this is being recorded, FYI, and I am an agile trainer. I'm also going to be a coach someday when I grow up. Actually, I've been a coach for years and years and years. And my co-host, Danny, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, my name is Danny Janot, and I am the Senior Training Coordinator at Next Up Solutions with Jill Stott. I also will be a coach one of these days, and as I grow up as well. But I assist Jill with the webinars and host some myself. But I'm also here to help you all. I'll be monitoring the chat box throughout the webinar today. So if you have questions, feel free to type in there. And Jill will probably get there, but we do encourage you to have your microphones on so that you can speak up in real time if you'd like to have your audio going.
Yep, feel free to unmute yourselves, and we don't interrupt us. You can also ask questions and put comments in the chat. Daniel, would you mind watching that chat and let me know, hey, so-and-so has a question? So we can
Jill,
make sure
I got eyes on it. I got it.
You rock. I gotta remember how to delete the annotations.
Ooh. You got to go to, you can just clear all. I don't know what happened to my annotation, but if you go to your options, annotate, and then you can clear all drawings.
Options? I don't have an options.
Here we go. I got your back, Jack. Oh, should be. There we go.
See, that's why you should have a co-host. Okay, so today's topic, without further ado, it's about our product backlog and the whole concept of sparking joy. Who can tell me where I stole this concept from? Anyone?
Marie Kondo.
Exactly.
Right.
Thank you, Mia. Yes, Marie Kondo, if you have seen her, she has a Netflix show. I read a book a long time ago when it was still cool about how to organize your house. And one of her things is, hey, keep stuff around and keep it well organized so it brings more joy into your life. So I've kind of stolen this concept and using it in reference to our backlogs, or agile backlogs, which are essentially our list of stuff we are going to potentially work on. Right. Ooh.
Whoa. Where's Z? There he is.
There's Big Z. So I'm mixing a whole bunch of metaphors today. So what in the world does joy have to do with a product backlog anyway? So one of my favorite movies, it's kind of old, it's a cartoon called Surf's Up. And this guy over on the left-hand side, the large penguin, his name is Big Z, and he's trying to teach this younger penguin how to surf. And the first thing that he wants to do is instill a sense of joy in this Cody Maverick character before he goes in and talks about it. And my question is, why would that be the case? So what we're gonna do is do a really quick activity in Mural.
Classic coming of age story of a young penguin learning how to use a surfboard. All right.
Yes, all right, I'm just going to send out, if you look in your chat, I want speakulous. Actually, we're going to do it a different way. So in the chat, or if you just want to shout it out, curious, when it comes to work, or maybe even in you're organizing your house, how does joy manifest for you? When you're in the zone, when you're doing work, what sense do you, maybe it's a feeling, maybe it's a thought you have, maybe it's a certain way of being. How does that look to you guys? Throw some things out there in the chat.
It's fun.
Fun. I feel like it's having fun, right? It doesn't feel like work.
Sorry, I didn't do it in chat.
No, you can do it.
Sorry.
It's a great point. Yeah, and it's a great point, Brian. Oh. So part of the question too, in terms of like, how does joy manifest itself, or how does fun manifest itself? Meaning, like, what is fun for you? Because there are different kinds of fun to different people. Some people like things organized and stacked properly. Other people like to, you know, get dirty and go to the beach and get all sandy and relax and all that. So what brings joy, you know, to you? How do you get fun?
Yeah, it's fun, it feels engaging. And thinking of, particularly as far as a backlog goes, why in the world would Jill and Danny be suggesting you should create a backlog that does create joy, a sense of fun, sense of excellence, and engagement? What are some thoughts on that?
I have one more, sorry. I don't want to monopolize it. But like when I think of that, I think like I want to be there. So going on the organizing, like if it sparks your, wherever it is, sparks joy, your house, I want to be there. So the same thing with work. I know it's joy or having fun because I want to be there or working on it. So I guess I would think with a backlog, like this makes me want to be in this backlog or working on it or doing it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. Absolutely. If it's something that you're just dreading to open because it's a mess, maybe you can't find anything, odds are you're not going to update it very often. You're not going to reference it. I have a couple backlogs I created for my own self, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to open it because I know it's a big fat mess I have to deal with. Absolutely. All right. PowerPoint's being power difficult. All right, so let's talk about some of the different things that occur with our backlogs that kind of kill some of the joy that we could potentially get from our backlogs. So first of all, the backlog joy killer number one, the disorganized backlog.
Jill, would you
So
like
this
for me
is
to
actually
share
one of my,
mine? Would you like for me
I
to
forgot
share
to
the
share.
PowerPoint?
Thank you.
Yep, okay, there you go.
Thank you, I forgot to share. Classic. All right, so this is an actual backlog that I created for all of my home improvement items. And it's a list of stuff I would like to do. But granted, it's kind of hard to see. What information can you gather from this? The fact that I've got lots to do.
Yeah, seems like you're busy.
Scary.
I'm not doing any of it, but I did put in a backlog, which makes you feel like, hey, check, I've done that. But the disorganized backlog, in some ways, it can be even more harmful than no backlog at all, because it gives the illusion that you're organized and you have a plan. So a disorganized backlog is inconsistent. So I like to use, and I didn't do it in this one, consistent naming conventions, which we'll talk a little bit in the next slide. It's not up to date. Yes, I go into it a few months when I realize, oh, we really need to do this thing around the house, and everything's pending. I haven't updated to cross things off that are done. I haven't removed things that I'm going to get to. It's just a big cluttery mess. Maybe you do need to share, Danny. So
Yeah,
some other things with, so it's not prioritized. See, it's just a list from top to bottom. And there's something that are clearly more than other things. Like, hey, if our laundry machine just conked out, that's probably more important than getting a hard top for our old Jeep. Which does the PowerPoint, Danny.
Yeah, you want me to jump in here?
Yep, yeah, just when you pull it up.
All right, here we go.
Weird.
Let me see.
So, now it's frozen up.
I'm glad that PowerPoint only.
So,
Sorry.
What's that?
No, I was just saying, I'm glad it froze for you. It's not just me.
Yeah, I got a note when I opened it, said, if you don't pay for this or whatever, I'm not going to have this application anymore. I think they mean business. I think they're serious. So again, it's not focused. So this is a home improvement, but if you noticed, maybe you don't need to know this, but I put some more like personal improvement, read more, take more showers, things like that. So you want to make sure it's focused with a single backlog, so to speak. There we go. All right, Danny, do you have it up yet?
Yep, I got it. And then I'm gonna throw my, here we go. And let me see if you guys are seeing that. Let me know.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Nia. So let's see. Boom, boom. Hard to read, not prioritized. Ready to move forward there, Jill?
This slide's gonna blow your mind, so be ready.
Boom.
So big C, it's not usable. Disorganized, it's just not usable. No joy. So an organized backlog has what elements? Danny. Beep.
Boom.
Items for a
Items
single
solution.
solution. Click again.
Thanks.
Now watch. Here comes an example. So right, so like I showed in the other one, hey, backlogs. One, Jill's self-improvement that will never happen, and then my home improvements separate. It makes it easy for you to make decisions and to see what's happening and make relevant and informed plans. Number 2, Danny.
Boop.
Short, concise title. So if you're using user stories, you wouldn't want to put the entire user story in the title. You want something quick that's easy to sound through, but it tells you what it is in this item without having to edit and open it up each time. Go ahead and click examples. So let's suppose you were doing a home improvement, not this carpet runner. That's not enough information or big long explanation either, because you want to save that for the edit when you edit and open up the ticket. And then I think we have one more, Danny.
Not this either. Are we seeing that on the screen?
Yes.
There we go. And then this.
There. Informative says what we want. We want to install a carpet runner where? On the stairs. Thank you. And number 3. Now this is kind of my big deal. Tell me if you have a better way to identify what types of work. So naming conventions. Go ahead and click the examples, please, Daniel. So I really like it. It's quick and easy to see, hey, here's the module. If you have maybe a large application that you're the product owner for or you're working on, maybe you have like the log dash, and here's the issue or here's the new opportunity that we want to add to it. For example, main bathroom space tub. It makes it really quick when you're going down the list to find the item that you're looking for. And also if it's different types of work, like let's suppose I have, most of my stuff is business facing, user stories. If I have some spikes where there's some technical work that needs to happen, I always like to put the word spike, dash, or enabler, or some other indicator that you can see quickly, oh, okay, this is not part of the usual user story bulk. And then you can manage the work in a lot easier manner. All right, number 4. Oh, I just said this, look, I'm getting ahead. So differentiate the work types. So there's some different examples. One way is to use those naming conventions. There's also different colors, tags that you can add, and then you can quickly group things together. A lot of people like, hey, we want only 10% of our stories, so to speak, to be technical only, keeping the lights on, so to speak. And that's a good, easy way to pull reports that have meaning and help you make decisions. And number 5. So clear prioritizations. Typically, how is an agile backlog, how is the priority depicted? Who can tell us?
Oh, don't want to jump ahead. Who can tell us?
Based on what's ready to be worked on, or based on what's refined and can be pulled into a sprint, and what's a high priority item.
Exactly. Thank you, Nia. So stuff that, hey, we want to get this done in the next couple of sprints should be at the top of your list. Typically, it's just sorted that way. And then stuff that can wait and it's not been refined yet, it'll be at the bottom of the list. All right. Thank you. Number 5. No,
Number 6.
I think there's one more. Oh, yes. Daily updates. I know for those of you who are product owners or work with your product owners, it's a huge job. It's crucial that not just you, but everyone on your team goes and they make updates to your backlog as needed every single day. A backlog that is not updated is not very useful. When you jump in there, you want to know, hey, this is the most current stuff. Not just the stuff that you're planning for the future, but stuff that the team is working on. If it's done, if it's blocked, you want to be able to look at it and know instantly. Not only you, but the stakeholders who are also looking at the backlog. All right. Let's go on to the next slide. Any questions or thoughts so far? All right, joy killer number 2, the over or under refined backlog. So I know these are really small, but so, and Nia, we kind of talked about what is refined. What is refinement? Let's start there. It used to be called grooming. What do we mean by that?
The hole in which I never come out of.
Howdy. Yes. Right, so you'll plop things in, maybe a customer request, maybe it's a cool idea, maybe it's a stakeholder initiative. You put it in your back, but you need to make sure you get enough information in there and have the conversation with the teams, potentially with your customers, and then document that in that user story. So when the team is ready to get it, it's ready to go. They're not waiting around, how you work, months go by, and that's just total waste. So there's a click thing. It might be the big Z. There's two forms of refinement. If I refine things too much, too far ahead, you notice this goes out into the 2036 because I'm such a neurotic product owner and I don't sleep at night. So I have lots of details. All my acceptance criteria is defined. I've broken them into sizable chunks. What's the waste potential for if I do that too far ahead?
You might not ever work on it. It might always be in the future.
Exactly. So one of the main tenets for using Agile is to decrease the cost of change. And anytime you spend doing work against the product that you develop is money, is cost. So if I spend weeks refining this backlog and then in 6 months they decide, oh, we're not going to do any of that because we have this better, more profitable opportunity, all that is sunk cost that you will never get any return for. So two different types of ways. For the next slide, some of you've probably heard of this. It is Bob Galen's guideline for how much of your existing backlog should be refined into what level. So Tater Tot, this is for you, buddy. So if you look at the very top, about 20% should be fully refined, ready to go. You've had your backlog refinement meetings with your team. They understand the user story, so it's been sized by the team and it's ready to go. So as long as you have 20% ready to go, you haven't done too much work that might be thrown away, but the team will not be sitting idle waiting for work as you develop your backlog. Then somewhere in the middle, it's around, these are just kind of rules of thumb, about 30% of the work, the items in your backlog should be semi-refined, right? You've done a little bit of research, you've talked to some customers, technical conversations with teams, like, is this even feasible? And maybe broken it down a little bit, added some bullet points in there, created potentially the container for the user story. And then roughly half should be just large chunks, right? They're ideas, they're dreams, there may be initiatives, requests, and they tend to be at the bottom, like Mia mentioned earlier, when as soon as they get targeted for, hey, we're going to implement this in 2 months, then you start refining it and bring that up the stack. Any questions on the 20, 30, 50 guideline? All right, thank you, Daniel.
Caw.
Oh, I forgot from last week. Bird. So here's just an example. As you're going through maybe a checkbox, you probably wouldn't actually put this in your backlog, but some things, activities that need to happen to get something fully refined, so the team will be ready to work on it. Here's some different things that you would wait, and then here's potential things that you would postpone. All right, thank you. Next slide.
Oh, my PowerPoint is now, there we go.
Virus. The poorly prioritized backlog. So we already talked a little bit about prioritization and why it's so important. It's a huge job and responsibility of the product owner. Let's go and see how it can really joy as far as backlog items go. So here's my favorite prioritization technique. Everything's high priority number one. Has anyone experienced either as yourself being on the business side or working with a business owner who everything is urgent? Yeah, it's just kind of like if we're all special, then nobody's special. So it's really super important, even though it's not easy always to make those hard decisions. Hey, should this be top? Should this be bottom? But that's the product owner's responsibility. Make sure it's prioritized. And every day there might be some tweaks, but until it's actually being worked on, you can change that as much as you need to based on value and customer demand. So I have a technique. I don't know if anyone's heard. I think it's on the next slide, Danny.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. So there's a lot of different prioritization techniques. So I want to talk about some of the different things you should be considering as you're comparing piece of work to another to decide, hey, is it more important, a higher priority or lower? So what you want to base most of the items on value, business value. Hey, do we expect, if we're for a commercial outfit, do we expect to get more revenue from this piece versus this piece? If so, boom, he should be moved. To think about time criticality. There are some new features or items that you could add that if you wait months, it'll be too late and you won't get as much value out of it, either based on demand or you might have competitors who will come out with it sooner than you are. I'm thinking like Zoom would be a prime example. And then risk reduction. There might be some technical work or some infrastructure that you need to add sooner than later in order to reduce some kind of risk, some kind of concern. Maybe it's a fine you'll get from the government if you don't get it done in a certain time. And then the fourth one, hey, even if we don't expect to get this huge revenue from this piece of work, it's going to enable some future opportunity that's going to be. So here's 4 factors that you can consider as you're comparing one item to another. So we're going to do a little exercise. This will be fun since I'm not driving, but see if you, what you're going to do, go out of the presentation mode, Danny. Yes.
All right.
Double click on that Excel table. Pushing the boundaries.
Double click. Boop, boop. All right, we're making it happen.
Victory. Okay, then. So those of you who have taken my SAFE classes or done anything with SAFE, they use this as the recommended prioritization method. It's called the weightest, shortest job first. And it might be overkill for some of you, but there's some important points I want to bring up. So I want to kind of walk through this. They didn't invent it. Don Reinerstein, it's in his book, but they did tweak it a little bit. But then if you're making it, make bigger. Can you make it bigger?
Make bigger.
Make big.
Oh.
Think. Make big.
Make big. Shoot, shoot, shoot.
There we go. Perfect. Okay, so this is, and if you could just kind of like make the columns a little bit wider. So it's like, Jill, I can only do one thing at a time. So these are just 3 initiatives, 3 maybe larger features, right? You probably wouldn't want to do this for every single user story, but you still want to, on the back of your head, be thinking this as you're prioritizing items. So let's suppose we decide we're going to compete against Netflix and Hulu. So here's 3 things we're going to do with our Stream It, we call it Stream It video device. So the ability to download shows to your device in case you're somewhere without Wi-Fi, ability to opt out of the recommended shows. I hate when they recommend shows to me that I don't want. And then the third one, hey, an option to skip the intro. Boom, I've seen the show a million times. I don't want to see a song in the intro. So first thing we're going to do, and this is just kind of for fun, just shout out, is look at business value. Our Netflix competitor. How much value do you think you would get through from each one of these? And what you do is just start with the smallest one. You give that a 1. Which one do you think will have the least amount of business value? Just throw something out.
I would say opt out. Sorry.
Okay, let's give him a 1.
Okay.
And then in relation to that, what would be option to skip intro? If the middle one's a 1, how would that relate to option to skip the intro as far as business value goes? It would be twice as big, just roughly. This is all just, you know, guesses.
I can go ahead. feel bad for everyone. This is me personally. I would put that as a 3, but other people can disagree.
We're not actually building this, Brian, so we're good.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not. So let's give him a 3.
So that leaves, where's the 2 gonna go? Jill?
It doesn't have to be a 2. These can be even bigger. Right? So the sequence, kind of like when you're sizing where
That's right.
shows. So we're thinking that's bigger or smaller than option to skip the intro as far as business value. Think about customers.
So for me, it's bigger. For me, it would be bigger due to COVID. Before, I didn't really care about that. But now that I have a bunch of kids stealing my internet, it cuts out, and it's really annoying when I'm watching a show.
That's a good point.
So that would be a lot higher for me.
All right, should we say an 8?
See,
Sure.
that's interesting because I would have put it
Eliminate.
the other direction given the fact that everybody has internet now compared to 5 years ago or 10 years ago. But I like your point better than mine, so I'm good with that.
And this is great. A lot of times it's the product owner, but the product owner will be having these conversations with stakeholders to a certain degree, right? It's the product owner's ultimate decision, but you don't know everything about everything. So thanks. This is how it would actually look. Time criticality. Anything, what would be the smallest? It doesn't matter. You could do it tomorrow. You could do it in a year, and it wouldn't make any difference as far as value goes. I'm guessing maybe skip intro one. Let's think.
Sure.
Let's plop a 1 on there, Daniel.
Skip 1. Okay.
And time criticality. Based off what Brian mentioned, I'm going to say the download shells maybe is time critical. So we'll put him at what?
Higher,
5.
because once my kids all go back to school, then I'll be fine on my internet.
Yeah, but then they only go to school every other day like mine, and then they're crashing the internet as we speak. So the whole internet. Okay, and then let's give the 1 in the middle a 3.
3. Dunzo.
Okay, and then just in the interest of time, we'll just do this real quick and correct me if you think I'm way off. So this is, remember, risk reduction or opportunity enablement. And I don't think any of these, they probably are all 2s. I don't know, do you think I don't know if there's much distinction.
I concur.
It's 2 of them.
2s.
All right, now you're like, cool. So if I look over in the total column, it's shaded in gray. If you look at just those numbers, which one would be the highest overall value?
Download.
Right. You think, oh, well, we should do this one next. But, my friends, there's one other thing we need to consider, and a lot of people don't do this. It's the size. So size is an indirect correlation to how long something will take, right? It's not exact, it's a prediction, but it will also give you an idea which one will cost more, right? If it's bigger, it's probably going to take longer to build. You're paying those developers no matter what, so it's going to cost you more, which is going to eat into your profits. So let's just guess here. Let's give these a size. Which one do you think is best to implement based on knowing absolutely nothing about this type of work?
Just the smallest you said?
Yes.
Oh, the opt-out. That should be really easy. Just like turning something off.
Oh, okay. Let's give him a 1 then, Danny. And then download is probably pretty big.
That's what I would think. You'd have to get plus all the licensing and figuring out all that stuff.
Oh, 13.
13.
Oh, big. I didn't think about the license.
Whoa.
And then skip intro, I'm guessing a 3 to 5, something like that. All right, now. So if you look over on the right-hand side, all this is a really simple calculation. It just adds up the numbers from the green columns and then divides them by the size. And then the thing that's the highest, it says it's latest, shortest job first. So first of all, which one's the most valuable? And then also factor in which one's going to cost you the least amount. So which one would we probably want to do first based on this additional data component?
Opt out? Anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah, you would probably want to do the opt out. is a 6. Like we're thinking when we factor in cost, we're going to get a bigger backlog. Thank you. All right. Any questions on latest, shortest job first? All right, let's go ahead and go back to the PowerPoint. Thank you, Danny. You're doing an awesome job.
Oh, thank you, Jill. Thank you very much. That was awesome. Well done, Brian and team. All right.
All right, number 4, the cluttered backlog. All right, so the first thing is you got too many items in your backlog, right? It's just like, well, you can't see this. I would show it, I'm embarrassed. This closet we have here is just stuff full. Things are falling out because it's too many things. When I have too many items in my backlog, why is that? More better?
No, not more better. Too many things. If you have too many stuff, then you can't see the stuff that's really important too. If there's just too much clutter, then the stuff you really want to get at, you're like, you miss it. It's underneath something.
Thank you, Danny. That's exactly the problem with that. So just like this cluttery closet, cluttery closet, that's fun, the alliteration that I'm looking at. If I need to go find my snow boots, it's going to take forever because there's so much stuff in there. It's just like your backlogs, right? If you have 500 items in there, some of them are 5 years old, it's just a lot of noise. You have to often make decisions on the fly about prioritization, what you're going to now, even just finding something so you can speak to it in front of maybe your stakeholders or a customer. Mm-hmm. So as far as backlog goes, less really is more. And in fact, I was in a really good webinar last week about this whole concept. Sometimes it's hard to let go. If you've been working on maybe an initiative for a year or more, and you put a ton of research into it, you've talked to people, you have attachments, you have a case study, and all this stuff, and then it just looks like you're never do it. It's hard to get rid of it.
Well, next slide. And Jill, maybe you're frozen up on us a little bit. Nope. You broke up on us. Yep. Test. Give us a test.
Testing. 1, 2.
1, 2. All right. You're loud and clear.
5 by 5. So why is it hard to let go of things, whether it's in your closet sometimes or in your backlog? I still do this. I just showed you my home improvement list. There's stuff we're never going to do, but I'm just like, maybe.
You don't want to lose it somehow. What if you need it?
Yes, what if I need it? So a lot of people say, hey, just delete it. You're never going to need it. And you get this emotional attachment to it. You know, whether it's a scarf your grandma knitted you, or it's this really cool initiative or this idea that you had a year ago. So what I recommend is, and I don't recommend this with your old scarves, but archive them. Otherwise, you're just moving on. Archive them. So not within the list as all your other more relevant work, but if you did need to go back and pull that information in, you could get it, you know, with a matter of a couple of clicks. That's my suggestion. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anyone watches The Simpsons. This is a really old episode where he first learns about the internet and he creates a web page and he has all these different things, so he just adds everything to it. So if you're using Jira, Rally, even like Swift, there's so many bells and whistles. I kind of have a tendency to do this. You're like, oh, this is so cool. Danny, did you see in our backlog, I put these GIFs, I have a weakness for GIFs, on all the items. Hi, and it was just so hard to see what was happening. You don't have to use all the tools because start really, really small and just add items, identify certain types of work. The less, the more, the better. And then just slowly add more. And then as you add more, delete some. So you can look at your backlog and know what's going on. Cool. All right. Any questions on this concept? What does Marie Kondo say when that sweater that your grandma made is hard to let go? I can't remember. I think it was kind of goobery.
Like thank it.
Thank it. Yeah, that's right, Brian. You gotta
thank you. You've served your purpose.
Thank you, backlog item. I learned stuff. That's true. You learned something. It did add value. Maybe you learned that this is not the right thing at this time. That's huge. All right, next slide, sir.
No joy. A cluttered backlog is a time waster, an energy drainer. Big Z just keeps showing it up.
That's pretty good. The Jeff Bridges accent.
There you go, Jeff Bridges.
All right, the joy killer number 5, the invisible backlog. All right, so 4 different things here. The invisible items, right? We want any type of work that is getting billed towards your project / your product should be in the backlog. When there are things that are happening, we should call them skunk works, I'm not sure why, that maybe the developer's like, oh, we need to refactor this code because it's a mess, and they just do it on the side. Why is that a problem from the product perspective? They mean well, they're smart people. I think that was 7 seconds. So, and some of you are probably like, I know, but I'm eating lunch. That's cool too. So you can't prioritize and manage what you can't see. And if a developer or a tester or business analyst is doing work billing against your product and you're not aware of it, it makes it really hard to manage that. So if they say, hey, we've got a design spike with research, put it in your backlog. And then you are ultimately responsible as a product owner to say, okay, I understand this is important, but I have to get this in first. And then you have that ability to really effectively manage your product backlog. Also, if you have some stuff in your head, like, I should really get it in there, or you have other things in a different tool, consolidate everything in one location. It just makes it so much easier to manage. The second item is your workflow, and I'm going to show an example of this. So a lot of times we get our backlogs and it's just like a list, but it does show you the steps that you need to go through to potentially refine it from taking it from the very beginning, from concept to cash. So it's important to have some type of visible workflow. It will help you not just manage the individual items, but the way you do work to make it more efficient. The third I guess circle / I, invisible, a team of teams. So I don't know if anyone here works in scaled agile where you have 5 different Scrum teams all working on the same solution. If that's the case, and there's a lot of different opinions on this, but it's not a problem if each group has.
Oh. Let's see, we've got Jill frozen a little bit here. All right, hanging tight. Anybody have any, while we're waiting for Jill, are there any comments on or success stories of managing your own backlog or finding joy within your own backlog? No? All right, let's see here. Anybody have any stories about challenges that you've had? I mean, what brought you here today? Is anybody particularly weighted down by a joyless backlog?
Yeah, hello everyone.
Hello, Alberto, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, feel free to tell your story here.
So I think mine is a peculiar situation where the team is delivering the product for a customer organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the customer organization, we don't manage the backlog, as it were. So there are different owners of, in quote, product owners that want their products to get into sprint. Mm-hmm. So you have this bottleneck whereby we don't manage the backlog, and the supposed product owners expect, in quote, the BA in our team to help them prioritize and manage the backlog. So it's it's a wonderful situation whereby it puts the team to some level of confusion. You don't know who should take responsibility because the PO should be accountable for the backlog itself. But here they now, maybe for lack of word, let it go the way of the BA, who is a contractor.
So that's
to help them to prioritize, to deal with the backlog. The product owners are not available during daily scrum to say, this is what it is. But at the end of the day, once the sprint is over, you now hear someone saying, oh, I was not involved. I should have been involved. Oh, I was too busy, you know? So it creates some kind of confusion, and it doesn't make the job very enjoyable, as it were.
Right.
So sorry, I got kicked off the internet. Alberto, I heard part of it, and help me. Is the problem you have multiple product owners? Is that it, or?
Yes, multiple product owners. It's a telecom organization, so you have guys from the business that want something to go into the market. You have technical guys also that understand the back end, how the systems interplay to get that work done. But they are not part of the Scrum team itself. They see themselves as they are the customer giving you a job. So it becomes kind of challenging to have them change that mindset that you are part of this team and you should work with the team to get things done. The idea is, oh, you have been paid or you're under contract to get this thing done, so go fix it.
Yeah.
Oh, that does not sound like joy. Like you said, it does not make it joyful, does it? That's really, really hard. A couple of things. I saw that anyone else has some advice for Alberto. This isn't, unfortunately, rare. I've heard this before. That's why Scrum says you have one product owner, not a committee. And then those other people who have vested interests, they funnel everything through that one product owner. Would make your life, just that alone would just be like a revelation. But I know maybe you don't have control over that. I have heard when you don't have that ability to say, okay, we need one point person to make these final decisions, maybe there's an option where you set up these meetings, and okay, each product owner gets one bid or whatever. You go like round robin for each sprint. Like, okay, this is from Bill, this is from Harry, this is from Will. It is a thought. I've heard of people doing that. Any other thoughts? How we can add a little bit more joy potentially to Alberto's job? Everyone's like, sucks to be you. No, that's hard.
That's tough. But yeah, that's
all
a great
right.
Jill, I like that one, that, you know, creating space for each one, because then one, instead of a clutter, like you're saying, of your cluttery closet, if each product owner got a turn per se, then you might find some symbiotic asks, right? Some things that do relate to one another that might otherwise seem like clutter if it's all just being tossed in the pot at one time.
True, and each one has maybe an equal vote, and maybe I think you mentioned there's some technical work that needs to happen. Maybe they have half of them. Just that would be one thought, and get them to the table and have them. Or shouldn't have to deal with all that. Okay, getting all angry. All right, so our next slide. All right, so no joy, you can't manage what you cannot see. So here is an example. I've been building a backlog for Zoom about all the stuff I want them to add. It's quite robust, if I do say so myself. I do not work for Zoom yet. So a couple of things here that you'll notice. I did this in Lean Kit, I believe, kind of a nice tool. It has a free option. Over on the left-hand side, I have all of my ideas, and then I have started working them. I call this upstream Kanban. That's what Kanban University calls it. That's what owners have to do to get an idea ready to be implemented. And this is just an example. A lot of times the product owner just kind of does this in a vacuum or some invisible space, and it's not clear what's going on with the work and what place they're at. Why do you think having this visualized in this manner would be helpful for potentially your backlog, or would it not? I guess not. So these are probably bigger initiatives, right? That will, as you get closer to the right-hand side, that would be broken down into smaller user stories. But a lot of these ideas, hey, I've got to talk to the customers. I've got to do way the shortest job first. I got to do some research. I got to talk to my technical teams. Is this even feasible? Do we have to do a bunch of changes in order to make it happen? These are really critical steps. And again, your backlog should be visible as well, not just what the team does. It'll help you manage the flow of work. You can see, oh, you know what? We have a bottleneck here.
Guys.
Oh, sorry, to say. Oh, I think there's just some background noise. So you can say, oh goodness, you know, we're always getting stuck here in research, so to speak. Maybe add additional capabilities. Maybe I need to pull in a business analyst to help us research this stuff so we can get things moving through the pipeline from beginning to end. And I love Kanban is, even if you don't do Kanban, maybe you're doing Scrum, which is fantastic as well, model it out in a board, and it will really help you get a better handle on your workflow and your work items as well. Anything to add to that? I know you love Kanban so much.
When I've not done this, it's been everything's just, I'm working on it. Like, oh, I'm researching that, but nobody really knows like what's important. Have we done enough research? Just easier to, like you said, manage the flow. It's just very hard if you don't do any type of an upstream.
Yes, thanks, Brian. And it's that visibility, right? That's really Scrum is all about, hey, make all the work visible, and Kanban as well. All this stuff that has to happen before the it is real. It needs to be visible. So you can say, dude, we don't have enough people, or it doesn't get lost and forgotten. Which, when it's all trying to be in your head, oh goodness, it's like, oh yeah, I'm working on that and that and that and that and that, and then you're trying to multitask, and then you get nothing done. So I don't know. I guess hold yourselves accountable as well, and it will just make everybody's lives easier. And I can't remember what's next, Danny. I'm excited.
Let's see. Ooh.
Oh yes, the uninspiring backlog. So sometimes we work on stuff that may not be exciting. I don't want to use examples, but well, home improvement. I hate home improvement, right? It's not exciting, but there's a few things you can do to make it inspiring for your teams and yourself and your customers. And the first item being an inspiring vision, a data warehouse. But think about, potential lives you could be changing by culling that data, refining it, and then selling it to other people. Maybe it's medical software. I don't know. But come up and carve that vision out. That's the product owner's job. With the team, share that with the customer. It gives you like a purpose. And it's a lot more joyful to go into that backlog knowing, hey, this is actually going to make a difference, not just make my CEO even richer. And then the second one says plan delighters and exciters. So they say those are the differentiators. If you have a product that you can do that, where, hey, we have to at least have the same capabilities as our competitors. Now we're going to add some bells and whistles that really get people excited. I'm thinking of stuff they've added to Zoom recently, where you can add additional reactions like this. I love it, right? That's fun to me, and it's a simple ask. It'll help your teams get excited and enjoy the work that they're doing, as well as please your customers. And also, it'll help inspire you and create something that you're excited to open up and to work on. Any other thoughts on how to create an inspired backlog? Inspiring. All right. The next one, think it's our recap. It's the recap.
We're at the recap.
So we're at the recap. A joyful backlog, like we said, this is just to kind of reiterate and reinforce what we've learned. It's well organized. It's updated daily. Now, the product owner has ultimate responsibility for that backlog, but it doesn't mean the product owner is the only one who can add things and update things, right? You can't do it alone. Enlist other people on your team to help keep this updated. Hopefully it's guided by an inspiring vision. And again, it's priorities based on value, not just on who's yelling the loudest or what some guy thinks will be awesome without doing your due diligence and your research. Also, it's refined in a timely manner, not too soon and not too late. And again, it's visible. All the work is visible as well as the workflow. Is there any other items that either we haven't discussed that would bring more joy to your backlog, or when you don't do something different will take away from that joy that you would like to share with the rest of us?
Well, in the case of Alberto's story, streamline of focus, hopefully not too many cooks in the kitchen would help create a joyful backlog.
That's like, how do those things get in that idea column? That's a whole conversation that might have to get bubbled up to people in the higher up ranks to make that effective, because that just makes the whole end-to-end flow difficult.
I think
Absolutely.
for inspiring.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Brian? Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I was just for inspiring, I like to think of the end state, or if I'm doing this for a user or a person, like how this is going to affect them. They're going to think this is great. This is going to do this, whatever for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, how is it solving their problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
But still on Zoom, like just these small things that they could do would really just change my life, because I'm on Zoom every single day, right, Danny?
That's right. Yeah, we live here partially. I'm half virtual.
We live.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I just saw a message. So yes, this is being recorded. Everyone who signed up, there will be an email sent out. I've been told at 3 p.m. Eastern Time sharp, and you'll have a link to the video as well as, I don't know, a nice note. I'm not sure. I don't ever give copy. All right, we have a few more minutes. What other questions do you have for us about product backlogs, product ownership, or anything agile? Or food related? I have a lot of opinions on food.
We always talk about food. That's right.
We haven't yet. I finally got my Pez machine loaded. It only took me minutes. Right now.
Nice. You must be out of practice if that took you 15 minutes.
No, their glue formula changed. It's not me. Oh, sure, blame the worker. What are some other struggles? It's like it's free, Jill. We just want to go to bed.
Yeah, feel free. Yeah, about 5 more minutes of just kind of open, agile conversation. That's great. Ask Next Up Solutions.
So projects I work on, it's really hard, even though the developers and the team know they need to break the stories down, getting them to take the time, right? And again, sparking joy in the backlog can help with that. But while you're on the path to getting there, how do you inspire people to break things down?
That is a great question. And Tater Tot, in my opinion, like especially when you're new to Scrum and breaking down, that's like the hardest thing for teams to do. There's a lot of, we could do a whole webinar on that. Maybe we should. There's a lot of different, like, templates, so to speak. Hey, you could break it this, because a lot of times they just don't know how, and it just feels like a waste of time. I don't know what I don't know. So in fact, I can email it out if you're interested. Here's some different things to think of. Can we break it down this way by CRUD, right? Create, read, what is that? Update, delete, and have those be separate. A lot of different techniques. Also, depending on how it works. So I'm thinking it's like a web interface. If it's not that type of work, maybe it's, I don't know, infrastructure work. if you can find something, and maybe this isn't an option, and maybe I can help you, find someone who does similar work and has figured out how to break those down from a technical perspective, that really helps too, I've noticed. Do we have, we should have people like that. Brian could tell you.
Sure.
Here's some other thoughts for tater tot, because that is like a continuous problem. It's not easy to break those down. And you know, now Scrum's like, you should be able to break them so small you can get them done in a day.
Yeah, and
it's not always possible, but that would be ideal.
Yeah. I've been doing this for longer than I care to admit, given the fact that I'm still poor at it. But yeah, you know, I've worked on teams that were great at breaking them down. And then, but the thing is, and I love the Agile Scrum training, because if you're not spending time in the middle of a sprint, you know, grooming, or, you know, for the next sprint, that's where you're going to have problems. And that's where the developers also need to be spending time, but they don't, because they're too busy catching up on because I didn't do it last time. So it's breaking that cycle. And then, but even though I've been breaking down stories very effectively for easily 10 years, last sprint, I broke down a story and into 10 parts. And then unwittingly, the way I broke it down, they all blocked on each other. So it didn't really get done any quicker. So it kind of didn't really help. So it's like, shame on me, but you know, I knew better, and I still did it. And so.
I mean, that's a learning experience. You know, when they're all interrelated, they're probably too small, is what I usually tell people. You might want to chunk them up a little bit, but that's the best way. I hate that. You got to learn by failure. I hate when people tell me that, but it's true. And I notice a lot of resistance comes not just because it's hard to split them down, but the concept is, hey, if I break these into smaller chunks, I have to do a lot of refactoring, and that's just a waste of time. So it really is finding that happy size and getting the buy-in from the team based on value and feedback loops. Like, cool, you know, this is going to take us a sprint and a half, but we're not even going to see if we're building the thing right or the right thing until, you know, 2 sprints in, and maybe it'll be too late then. So it's just kind of helping them nudge along, understand why it's so crucial to do those, to get that feedback. Great question, though. Sorry, I didn't have a perfect answer.
No, it is a good answer, because it really boils down to the feedback loops, being able to demo it. And that's really how I identified that what I'd done, it didn't work as well, is because it took 3 sprints to get all those tasks done, even though individually they took less than a sprint, or half a sprint even, but because they blocked. And then it was the feedback loops that brought it out, proved that, you know, and just following good Scrum practices. It's like, yep, I messed that one up. So,
but, or did you just learn? Because I mean, it's so rare, very seldom see too small of stories, but that's great. Now you know kind of where the happy medium is, that I don't think you would have been aware of it as much, and now you can teach other people who work for you. So it's actually a great lesson.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you, Tater Tot and friends. I can't stop calling you Tater Tot. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining. And I know for some of you who are in a different time zone, it's probably evening. Have a wonderful Friday, and we hope to see you again. I think our next one isn't until right before Halloween, right, Danny?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the next webinar will be Friday, October 30th.
Wear your costumes. Yes,
what
so.
Do you call it, Mischief Night?
Mischief night, the night mischief. Yes, so again, Jill and Danny, Next Up Solutions, we teach Scrum, CSM, CSPO, well, we don't, but our colleagues do, Kanban classes, Scaled Agile, what else do we teach? Just good old-fashioned common sense.
That's right. That's right. And yeah, there is, I did drop in the chat info@nextupsolutions. If you do have any questions, you can email us directly, or you can visit us on our website, which was up on one of the slides there, but you could take a look at all of our public course offerings as well as our private course offerings as well. So if you're looking to get some Agile training for you and your team, feel free to reach out to us about that, because we'd be happy to work with you. We are teaching all of our classes live online, so we can reach you wherever you are virtually.
Anywhere, even in Africa or Australia.
That's it. Yeah. But thank you.
Or Antarctica. Although nobody actually lives in Antarctica full time, I read.
Yeah, I think that would probably be hard. Probably people who do live there part of the time, because I think they got little science stations down there. You know.
Yeah, so maybe that will be last in our list.
You know, who probably lives there full time is Big Z's cousin, because penguins live in the South Pole.
I was getting mixed up. Oh yeah, they don't live in the North Pole.
Yeah, the penguins are the South Pole.
That's right.
Polar bears are North Pole.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I always remember that
interesting.
because I just think the penguins slid down the pole